So, if you want to see how we helped Derek to 3 times his commission when he was actively closing, going from 3 to 9K in just 2 months, then that is what we're going to dive into today. You get to hear Derek's story, how he got into the industry, how he came into the position that most people get into when they start closing in an offer that isn't really giving them the opportunity, not really closing to the best of his abilities, and really an honest sense of what it takes to be successful in this place. So look forward to this complete breakdown of Derek's journey, and I'll see you in there. Here we go. So, Derek, catching up after 2 months in the Close Pro Academy now?
Yeah, 2 months.
Only 2 months in. So, yeah, just for context then. So, before you joined, what were you doing and where kind of were you with everything?
Yeah, so I've been on kind of a health coaching offer for, about a year at the time when I joined, and it was going okay, but when you're not the top closer, and you can see improvements.
Yeah.
So I was not where I wanted to be, like to be clear, and yeah, when I joined, so I just knew I needed mentorship to help me get to the next level because my current offer wasn't giving me that help. So I just needed more help, really.
And what has your journey been like with remote sales, high ticket closing as a whole? Like, how long have you been looking at this space? So, have you been on the offer for a year? Was there any other offers before that? You joined a program to help you get into the space, right?
Yeah, so I did a pretty top tier expensive coaching program and immediately now my first two offers they just weren't good offers at the end of the
Yeah.
day, and that's pretty common, right? It's not that hard to get hired, but it's more important to find the right offer at the same time.
Yeah.
So they but even on those, immediately the things I learned from that coaching program were what worked in like 2020 and 2021 when everyone had stimulus checks and financing was at 0%. And so I don't think it was a good reflection of today's landscape,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of the things, they just built tons of sales resistance on my calls that would normally work in the past whenever it was easier to get the money for it. And now, whenever they're going to have to fight to get the money for it with their clients, just typically on most offers, that it was creating more sales resistance than needed to get them across the line at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I think you were talking about, you paid. Well, you tried a few different things, like we connected, right? We had a similar journey. You tried a few different things other than remote sales before
Right.
you actually got into space. So what were the other things that you tried again?
Well, so I had a luxury furniture business, and that was very successful,
Mm.
but it was not scalable.
Yeah,
So the I did come from some sales background at the end of the day, but so I tried in order to save that business because that was failing at some point in like 2021. I did a marketing program, and that marketing program just absolutely saved the business. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to go do marketing for other people. And then after marketing for other people and realizing they didn't, the clients were the problem, not necessarily my ads worked. I was good at marketing, but they just got to work their leads and make the sale. Then I was like, all right, I don't want to take their money knowing that they're just going to fail, and I want to focus in on something else here. So I was looking into remote closing, tried to get hired without training because I was like, I've got sales experience. Like I don't need to go I don't need any more sales training. I sell dining tables for $30,000. I can get on a call and sell someone on a program. And
we get that, I get that sometimes. It's like, oh, what do you mean? I'm already a high ticket closer. I sell cars, and it's like, well, just because you sell expensive things doesn't mean you're a high ticket closer. But
exactly.
it's like the thing that you sell is the big difference, right? It's as a high ticket closer, you're selling change. Like you
Yeah.
sell something that's genuinely going to change someone's life. It could be a fitness program. It could be helping them to build a business or learn a skill like I do. I teach people a skill. I help them get into the roles and actually set themselves up as a professional entrepreneur so they can work remotely, 10K plus months, do all the things that they came here to do. But those things aren't small. And I think like when you sell, let's say that you sell, I'm a BMW guy. Well, let's say the Jag. I got a Jag. So
Okay.
me driving to Tesco's or a supermarket in my in my lovely Jag now doesn't really feel that much different to how it did when I was driving in a 20-year-old beat up Astra. So it does
Right.
change your life. So yeah, I think you're right. It's like I think a lot of people have that impression, right? It's like, well, I can sell. I'm selling these things. Because any
Yeah.
sales job, it is kind of like that. Because you're not really selling. All you're doing is you're basically like a walking, talking brochure. You go,
Right.
you say the facts and the figures about what you do to enough people and hope someone buys. It doesn't really matter if that's a car, if it's tables or whatever it is. So yeah, I can kind of see why a lot of people have that perception. But yeah, you joined yeah, so you joined a program and it was a pretty big investment as well, right?
Yeah, I paid like $9,800 to get in there,
Wow.
USD, and it was. I mean, it was still worth it. A lot of people would be like, "Oh, you wasted your money." I didn't. It's all just kind of the personal development journey,
Yeah.
and I was extremely humbled by just the role plays, even setting role plays,
Mm.
and listening back in on my original calls. I was just cringe. I was like, I can't believe I suck so bad at this. And what it was kind of one of the reasons I wanted to get into high ticket sales anyways, because for my own
Yeah.
business, I really felt like the reason I was successful is because I was so good at marketing, not so good at sales. So I only needed like 5 sales a month when we were selling something so expensive that, we couldn't keep
Yeah.
up with demand at that point. So I was like, what if I could develop the skills? And that's what I love about the space. I was like, I want to grow as a person. So how do I develop the skills? I can go sell something that I want to learn the skills in, right? If I want to get better at marketing, I can sell a marketing program. If I want to, go buy businesses, I can go find a coach or mentor that teaches people to buy businesses. I get the sales skills and then I learn how to go buy businesses, right?
Yeah.
So it's very much amazing industry for personal development too, and humbling yourself because every time you get on that call, it's just a reflection of you, whether they buy or not
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah. 100%. And I think what was really surprising though was the program. What was it you said? The program that you joined didn't tell you how to pitch or something. Like all the sales training was just like discovery based.
Well, yeah, we focused pretty much only on the discovery through all our role plays. They have a pitch and things that you can walk through, but none of the training we never focus on discovery and very little on objection handling. I mean, there's some objection handling in there,
Wow.
but um even if I had gone through their objection, I did go through their objection handling, but even if I did role plays on that with their, none of those objection handling techniques worked anymore. They just didn't, right? The questions to logically box someone in to get them the right answer, to
Yeah.
get them to say yes, they know what you're doing. Like, and one of the main things I learned from yours was like, all you can ever do is show them a new perspective.
Yeah.
You can't box them into a corner and then get them to buy. It's just not going to work anymore. They've already been on multiple calls now. Programs are getting more popular, so they're going to shop around, and they've already had those same objection handling things done to them. So you have to be the buyers are more sophisticated, so we have to come at it from a more
Yeah.
emotional, intelligent perspective.
Yeah. It has to be conversation led. And I think a lot of, when I see a lot of people, especially closers now, is they lean very much into the Jeremy Miner, the NAPQ, that style of things. But when you have been closed by someone who has done that, you can't really be closed by it again. So
Yes. That's exactly it. In Jeremy Miner, I love Jeremy Miner
yeah,
and
great guy.
I loved his stuff. It was really, really good for furniture actually and
Yeah,
in-person sales. But if you, golly, a consequence question at the wrong time in a sales process will, they will immediately shut down.
yeah. Once you've
If you,
lost it, you can't get it back.
Right. If you ask a consequence question in the kind of, free content that you hear from these guys, that's why the more one-on-one training is what's just the best for everyone. You can if you don't know how to use those tools the right way, then they'll fail. You won't succeed. So even on my current offer, it's kind of sink or swim, the one I've been on for over a year now. And we've had guys that were in NEPQ and all these other really high level trainings that just didn't make it either because
Yeah,
they weren't adjustable, right? the person that can adjust to the call and be more flexible on the call, not just waiting to
Yeah.
ask that next question.
I think a lot of people treat it like they're programmed like a chatbot. When say this, say that. When this says, when they say that. And when
Right.
natural conversation, and they say something that you're not expecting. They just don't know how to adapt. They don't know how to respond. And then, yeah, it's like a complete meltdown. Like I remember doing a call with a closer like a few years ago. And every time I had like a rebuttal against his objection handling, he'd say the same thing. It's like, yeah, but money aside, does it work? And I was like, stop fucking saying money aside, because I had to hang up on him. I couldn't stand it. I could not stand going through being asked for the fifth time, money aside, does it make sense? And I hate, maybe there's a justification for using it on the first kind of round of it, but the whole reason that we go through that step close of questions, value confirmation, and then close is that you've already gone through that with them. They've told you that it is going to work for them. So if you
Right.
have to keep reiterating the thing that you've already said, it's just going to make you so much more frustrated as the prospect when they're trying to handle your objection, and then your guard goes up and up and up, and it doesn't matter what you say. You're
Right.
not going to see the perspective that closer wants you to see because you're so annoyed by them because they're asking the
Right.
same things and they're not listening. That's the most important thing.
And they won't even answer you. So another one, money aside, does this work? Another kind of common objection handling tool is like, okay, do you feel like this can get you to XYZ? And whenever I would circle back with that, they would literally just not answer. They refuse to answer because they know if they say yes, I do feel like this can get me to XYZ,
Yeah.
then you've boxed them into a corner, which just causes more sales resistance. They sink their heels in. So the objection handling is important. It needs to happen, but it's only ever showing people that new perspective.
Yeah.
But it really is the discovery where, pre-handling these objections, and that's where it happens. But even with, I mean, when I first got into the program, I was just in a sales rut. Like I was not doing well. And
So when you joined, what were you doing? So you said you were doing maybe 3K, 3 to 5K, kind of stuck at that level.
yeah, so the month, going back through months, it was just so back and forth,
Yeah.
right? I'd make 3K and then I make 6 to 7K and then I would make 3K again.
Mm.
Or I think one month I even did less than 3K and I was like, what am I doing here? Right. And I've spent $20,000 on sales training and I'm not making more than 3K on an offer. Like that sucks. And even just the small changes, the immediate small changes we did that were building sales resistance. So stop doing this and, say this instead. Immediately, my next month, I did, it was like 3K, and the next month I did 6K. And then now in, my final month, I've done 9K. And
Yeah.
that's my peak month on that offer. And I'm taking 4 calls a day. So that's not a huge call volume. So if I was just taking 5 calls a day, I'd be 10K plus, right?
Well, I mean, 9K for taking 4 sales calls a day is not a bad exchange.
Yeah, I mean, I work from like 9:30 to 3:30 and I made 9K. And my
Yeah.
yeah, my wife's a teacher. She works all the time and
Mm.
doesn't it makes like 3K, right?
Wow.
So,
But yeah, I think and again, like that's what we focus on, right? Is like what are we doing now? Like how are we building this resistance? How do we improve that close rate? But month one, doubling our commission. Month two, tripling our commission. I mean, we're going for a quadruple next month.
right.
Okay. But yeah, it's I think the best thing I always see with people like yourself is a lot of people in the space get so complacent, right? It's like
Mhm.
they've tried so hard to learn the skills, getting an offer, and then they're getting an offer, and then they don't put any emphasis on improving anymore. They don't
Mhm.
push themselves out of their comfort zone anymore. They feel like they're there, and if they just, it's that kind of like employed mindset of, well, now I'm here. If I just kind of stay here and plod along, maybe it will lead me to where I am. And like
Right.
that's why there's so many closers out there who kind of reach this point and then they just get stuck between the 3 to the 5. And it's like, well, I'm just kind of where I was when I was in my normal job. And it's like, well, first thing is you're working remotely and you're working probably half the time. So it's not like you were where you were in your corporate job, but
Right.
it's taking that attitude of laziness out. I feel like you can't ever get complacent. Like if you want to achieve big things, what do you expect the journey to achieve them is going to look like? That you just plod and do the bare minimum? Or do you feel like you've got to constantly be pushing and learning, obviously invest in time, effort, even money into kind of getting to that next level? And
Right.
we've now got you on. So yeah, the first priority was always like, let's just analyze what we're doing. Let's get our sales skills back up to where we need to. And we even did the positioning. A lot of people who are actively closing, they don't ever look like they're closing. They don't position
Yeah.
themselves, they're not optimizing their profiles, how they write resumes, how they approach offers. So we did that. But now we're on a new offer. We've just secured a new offer 2 months in. And I think we said their top guy is collecting like 400K cash.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And without the networking that happened in the program too, I wouldn't have got that opportunity. Right.
Yeah.
So I was that was one of the main things. I was, beating my head against the wall for a year on this offer, trying to figure out if it's me or the offer. And it's a little bit of both at the
Yeah.
end of the day. Like it's never just one thing. So I felt like as long as I'm doing absolutely everything and have the right mentorship and leadership, that if I leave this offer, it's the right thing. That the grass isn't just green on the other side. It's just like that next step of leveling up. Then I couldn't make that decision by myself. Right. We're all blind. We're all in denial of some sort,
Yeah.
and you have to have external people that aren't your friend. It's not your mom. It's not the guy from high school. Someone that understands the industry and the industry today. So not just recycling, trying to funnel people through these big programs, right?
I've worked as a coach and a closer in a couple of other programs, and I've seen behind the well, I've consulted in yeah, at least probably 30, 40 offers,
Hmm.
building their sales team, seeing behind the scenes, and I am never shocked anymore. But I'm so surprised at how little put emphasis into their program and the results and like the actual fulfillment and the product itself. Everyone is just concerned about the marketing. Everyone's just
Yeah.
concerned about looking good, taking their best success story and making it seem like that's the normal journey for everyone. I think we've had Jay did 10K in 6 weeks. We had Luke do it in 8 weeks. But it's like even someone like yourself who's actively closing, what we never do is like, right, we're going to get you to 10K months in 2 months. There's literally an advert, and I don't want to name and shame anyone, that I get targeted of someone else who does what I do, and their advert is literally just words like, "We'll guarantee you a 10K a month position in 90 days." I
Yeah.
just think, what utter horseshit! You cannot guarantee someone that because there is so much that goes into that.
Right.
And
Right.
it sets this expectation in the industry that that's what's possible. And then people come into it. We were talking, the other day or earlier about someone who they say they got scammed and like they have all these expectations, and it's like we have to manage that. Like it's very easy for closers to go, yeah, we'd never do that, we'll do this, but then it's realizing that person will come in and they'll have the same expectations, and then they'll turn you into the person, and then they'll try and get their money back. And it's like when you lay it out, it's like, did you actually get scammed though? Because you paid
Right.
the money, you didn't put the work in, and now you're trying to blame the offer owner. So I don't think we're going to be the right fit for you because you're going to come in and we're not just going to hand you a role. Like we're going to give you
Right.
the path you need to follow in order to get a good role. Two very different things. And again, it's that expectation of these idiots out there who keep saying, yeah, we can get to 10K a month. I say I can place someone in 90 days because I usually do. And we got
Mm.
contingencies to make it happen even in month 4 or 5. And very rarely, I think the only person that got placed in month 6 was Lisa. 48 years
Mm.
old, 20 years out of work, and we knew it was going to take her longer. But getting placed and doing 10K as a closer is two very different things, right?
Right. Yeah. The industry as a whole, with all these different coaches out there, makes it really difficult because they're selling a dream.
Yeah.
And like, absolutely. Yeah. There are people doing 20, 50. I mean, there are people doing 100K,
Yeah.
but
Joe done like 28K this month, like in the
yeah, I
close.
was about to say, we don't even tout our best, like, or
No.
you don't like even tout the best people that a lot of the times, you're not saying, oh, I just had Joe do 28K in commissions this month. So you come be like, Joe, it's like, no, we're going to help you get you to 10K. Eventually we're going to scale up to that. We're going to get you placed in 90 days. And then we want to scale to those, realistic numbers because
Yeah.
it took me, I mean, over a year with tons of sales experience and training to hit 9K, right? So, it's hard. I like to tell people, I'm like, we don't do this because it's easy. We do this because we thought it was going to be easy, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have that grind and you don't have that mentor to help you get there, I
Mm.
mean, you could just benefit from what took them years to achieve and get you there much quicker.
Yeah, well,
So
that's always what it's always what we've been focused on. Is it's not about we're going to get you in a role, and it's like no, my job as a mentor is to help you get to the best possible place. As a high ticket closer, I can do in the 6 months we work together. And for some people, they're not even closers yet. So obviously, the first goal is getting in place. But then we work with someone like yourself who's already closing, and it's no, like we need to get our skills and our close rate up first. We need to be able to put ourselves in a position where we can attract that next level of offer. And we're like two months in, and now we've got that next offer. So yeah, like we're going to definitely get us. I would be surprised if we're not hitting probably 15, 20K by the end of the 6 months. But you're already coming into this at that kind of level. And I think it's so easy to get distracted by what other people are doing or look for the quickest, easiest. But then you have to, it's like what we were saying about objections. You have to look at your own objections in that different perspective of kind of like,
right,
if you want something that's better than what 99% of people have in life, do you think that it's going to take you a month? No.
right,
And sometimes it's you come into a journey and you're already like 3 years in. So that's why you see the people do it in like a short amount of time. And it's, like I say, for me, getting to 10K a month, I hit it as an agency owner in 3 months' time. But that's because I sold a really big website client. I had a few other clients come in. I was really good at sales, but then my agency went really far down again because I
yeah,
hate doing the marketing. I really didn't know how to manage the clients properly. And I'd either spend all my time fulfilling or all my time selling. And it kept crossing over. And, it was lucky that I got into closing. That's obviously like 5 years ago when I joined the program that helped me with my agency because that was the thing that gave me consistency. But I would never sit there and say, yeah, I got to 10K a month in 3 months' time because it didn't.
right.
Like that was 4 years in of trying two different things and trying something else, and then yeah, you've always got to take a personal perspective of it. But it's dream sellers. You can't make 10K a month in 3 months as a high ticket closer if you have no sales experience or you've never been a high ticket closer before. You might have sales experience, but you don't do this. You've got to understand what your personal journey looks like and what you need to get to a good place. But if you are someone who would only go down a journey or it's like this, if you could make 10K in 3 months and you're not willing to maybe do 6 months or even a year, you don't deserve to be here in the first place.
All right. Yeah, yeah, that is absolutely it. And even in my role plays with whenever I first got into RCA, that was my first realization was they were just dreamers. I'm like, these people, whenever we're doing the discovery calls, they're like, this is, I'm like, you don't deserve, it was so frustrating because I would never tell this to them, but I'm thinking, you do not deserve the life that you claim that you want here. Like this is a big life that you're describing here, and you're like the work that's going to take to get here is not what you're kind of displaying. So setting those real like everyone wants $1 million, the realistic expectations, but do you
Yeah.
need $1 million? Everyone wants 10K a month. Do you need 10K a month? So the people who feel like they need 10K a month are going to put in the work. The people who
Yeah.
just want 10K a month will flounder.
Yeah.
They're just relying on motivation and hype. When that hype runs out, then they just burn out. Right.
Yeah, and it's a question I've always asked on closing calls. Any offer you're helping people out of a day job, it's usually a similar question to whether it's closing, whether it's agency or any other ones I stepped in for some of my clients. And it was like, okay, well, look, if the goal is to get you out of your day job, then how much do you need to be making in order to leave your job? Oh, 10K. Okay, so how much do you earn now? 4K. So you need to make 10K on the side for you to feel justified enough to leave your 4K job. Okay, talk
Right.
me through that one. Like, how do and they're like, well, I just need proof of concept. I need to know this is working properly. I was like, okay, but the reality is that you're not going to get to 10K a month if you're working a 40, 50 hour day job because it's going to take away your time and your energy that you need to put into this. So
Yeah.
what if there's a moment where you can only earn 3K a month? Is that enough to you to live on? Well, I mean, technically, yeah, but I'd never do it. I was like, okay, then. So you're not really serious about making 10K a month then?
Well, and they don't understand. You're an entrepreneur,
Yeah,
right? When you're doing this, you're an entrepreneur to yourself. You're a gun for hire for these businesses,
I like that. Yeah.
and they you have to treat it as your own business, and they're not just going to hand you the money. You're getting paid based off the value, and if you don't take ownership of that, instead of looking to the program to take ownership over you making XYZ dollars, like you have, it's personal responsibility. That's all it comes down to. And the having that day job of like 4K, right? Then it's the illusion of safety.
Yeah.
They're paying you 4K because you're actually generating way more than 4K for them. So they just give you 4K base.
Yeah.
So once we get rid of that illusion, take your personal responsibility for our life and finances, and put in the work, then we can get to those uncapped commissions, right? Of scaling to the next level. But yeah, the status, the refusing to, it's, I mean, it's another form of denial, refusing to actually look at our
Mm.
current situation and acknowledge that 4K a month isn't enough for the life that we want to have.
Now, yeah, and that's the job that we need to do. But the reason I feel like the biggest thing to understand a lot of the time is like the reason these things work on a closing call is not because they're tactics, they're manipulation. It's because they're truth.
Right.
What you need to do as much as anything as a closer is get someone to realize that they need to make the change and what it takes to make the change.
Right.
That's the limiting belief that needs to be broken most of the time. It's like why are you even here in the first place? Oh, well, I just I'll see it as an opportunity to look more money. I was like, okay, but there's a million things that can get you more money. Why is this going to be the thing that works? Okay, or
Right.
you say, what else have we tried so far? Like you say you want to do this, but what actions have you actually taken so far? Is it not fair to say that if you actually look at what you've done and what you want, those things don't really align? So why is now the time that you make that change and you actually do start doing these things? And you do that earlier on in the call when there's not this big heavy price tag hanging over it, and you can get people to
Right.
realize that they need to start making serious moves if they want serious things. And I think
Hmm.
people are so good about talking about what they want to do and saying it. They're very bad at doing the things that actually take. And then you get that group of people that think that all they have to do is buy a course and then it happens. And then that's
Yeah.
obviously then it falls into the job of the coaches. And that's why I sold really well, because I was the coach as well as the closer. And all the
Hmm.
things I would say to even get them to make the decision to buy or move or actually start the change were the things that needed to happen in order for them to see the change through when I was coaching them. So that's why like these things align so perfectly, because it was truth. It wasn't closer bullshit. It was genuine truth.
Yeah.
And if I can't get someone to accept that they need to make that change or admit they need to make that change in an earlier call, I'm not even going to pitch them. What's the point? They're not going to buy. And even if
Right.
they do buy, they're going to probably refund in a week. They'll give up in a week. They'll waste your time. They'll waste their own time. They'll be like that person we spoke about was like, oh, it was a scam. It's like, how is this? How did that person scam you? Because they gave you
Right.
something that you bought. It's just you didn't use it. And that's not their fault. That's your fault.
Yeah, and it's the old saying, your personality is your personal reality. So if that person thinks it's a scam, then they're gonna think the next thing's a scam. That's just what they believe. So we
Yeah.
have to overcome that limiting belief. How is this actually a scam?
Yeah.
Because that's an opinion. This it's not like they tricked you out of it. You got into the program. They gave you the resources. So how is what made this a scam? Because I'm not going to enroll you in this next thing if
Yeah.
we still feel, because you're going to do the same thing to me, right?
Yeah.
So
And it's,
doing what's
yeah.
best for them.
And like my biggest thing that I see as a scam is how 99% of people live. Like you're
Yeah.
telling me that I've got to trade all of my time, all of like, and again, if you go down university routes, all your money, so you're forever in debt or student debts. I have to exchange all of that time and effort in return for what? Like in England, we get about 4 or 5 weeks off in holiday a year. I think in America, it's like 10, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. In the
10,
summers.
yeah, you're given 10 working days off a year. So you've got to be a scam to me is being a slave for 50 weeks of the year so I can have the reward of a holiday of 2, because I need
Mhm.
it, because I'm being a slave for the 50, in return for what? Like, your freedom is your retirement. And now it's probably about 70, 75. You're going to have to work till most people until they retire, where you're too old, you're too tired, and you're too broke to enjoy it. Because the
Yeah.
money that you make to put away from your retirement, like, Jesus, what is the money you make now? What is that going to get you in 40 years? Because 5 years ago, I went to Tesco's and it was about £1 to get my big bottle of smoothie, and now it's a fiver.
Right.
The jump up in the last 5 years, let alone what's going to happen in 4 years. So, like, that to me is the biggest scam.
Yeah. Yeah, the what we might call the American dream,
Mm,
that was a blip in time. And
yeah.
the time where you could just work and buy a house on a regular income and have a retirement and things like that, that just isn't the future. And if we don't, we realize that's the scam, right? It's that relying on someone else to take care of you. Like,
Mm,
just take responsibility. When you learn sales, it doesn't matter what the market does, where you're at in the world. You are the light in the darkness to these companies, because if you can sell, you're keeping them alive. When everyone else's jobs are not stable, but you're the only one generating revenue, you're the most
mm,
sought after person. It is the most stable, like, sought after skill, even past marketing. You
yeah.
can get the marketing in, which is great. They're two sides of the same coin. I know that's a debate, but if you can't sell them after you get them, then you're burning leads. You're just
Yeah.
wasting money on marketing.
What's
So,
better, to close 50% of 10 or 1% of 100?
right, right.
So,
Yeah,
sales is always number one. Like, I have this conversation with people all the time. It's like, is it marketing? I said, oh, it's sales. Sales better. So,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, that's obviously why we're here, man. That's why we're doing well, and that's why you're going to continue to do really well in this space. So, yeah, we're going to have to call this there, as I know I've got another meeting to jump on. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing the journey, and obviously knowing that this is, we're only about halfway through this process with us. So I know that we're going to get to an amazing place in the next 3 months, 4 months, but go on to have a really, really fruitful career in this space. So yeah, appreciate you,
yeah.
man, coming on, and yeah, thanks for sharing your journey.
Awesome. All right, thank you.
That's right.